The issue of fame and the burden of it is something you've dealt with quite a bit in your work, and this is a view from the outside almost, a sort of the desperate longing for fame. I mean, was that one of the things that kind of appealed to you about this story?
I just see that part of our culture is growing so much, and then when I saw this story about these kids, being so kind of saturated in it, I thought, how out of balance it is, and I'm just curious to look at.
When you look at the story, some of the details, I assume they had to have been sort of embellished, like some of the things that Nikki, or I think the real name's Alexis, some of the things she said, I assume had been, made up. I mean, was there anything that you found out that you were like, oh my gosh, like we're going to need to change that because it's not going to be believable? Or...
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the quotes, which were real quotes, sound unreal, and just little details about them trying to steal her Paris Hilton dog, or and Paris Hilton leaving her keys under the mat. The story was endlessly entertaining to me because of all the real details.
Yeah, it's nuts. So how did it first come to you? How did you first become aware of it?
I remember hearing about it on the news and not paying that much attention, but it sounded like this crazy story that these 16-year-olds were robbing Paris Hilton's house, and then when I read this article in Vanity Fair, and read some of the quotes of the real kids and their perspective and the details, it just was fascinating, and I thought it had all the elements of a movie I'd want to see. That had it's exciting, but then also had a kind of scary element to it.
Yeah, it feels very timely.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think, as the social media is so prevalent in the film, I mean, do you think that sort of had an impact on how people sort of look at celebrities?
Yeah, I think it had a big impact on the story, and I think there's less boundaries because they felt like they almost knew these people that they were fascinated with, and they would go and just hang out in their house almost like they knew them. And I think with having so much information, there just aren't the same boundaries.
So I want to ask you about casting. I mean, did you have anyone in mind for any of the roles, or did you just kind of go auditions? Or?
I didn't. I was thinking about the real people I based it on when I was writing it, and then my casting team spent a year meeting every young actor, and it's always important for me to have, when you're casting young people, to have them feel close to the real age, and to have real teenagers, and have something not too polished about them, to feel like real kids, because I think that's what struck me about the story is what makes them kind of endearing is that they are so young and trying to find their identity and find their way. And then my casting directors met Emma Watson, who I wouldn't have thought of as this kind of a character at all. And I was just, when I met with her, I was really impressed with her kind of take on the character, and she had a smart perspective, and I was impressed that she could really transform herself into this totally different kind of LA girl.
Exactly. I was going to ask you about that, because it's such a departure from anything that we've seen her do before.
She made an audition because I really liked her, but I couldn't really see how she could do it, and I was really impressed that she put some lip gloss on and really transformed herself, and that character could easily be a cartoon, and Emma did such a good job of making her a real person, even though she's kind of absurd. It's
sort of sad in a way. There's a bit of a moral vacuum for these kids. I mean, do you feel bad for them?
There seemed like this group of unsympathetic kids, but I try to put myself in their mindset, and I feel like they're young and they're trying to find their way, and they're just a little bit lost in all this kind of tabloid culture.